Hello again. Now I have decided that I have 8 sets of 8 cards each. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do, not all on video, that would take forever. I'll do one just to show you what I'm talking about, and then I'll do the rest some other time. But I want to show you what I mean with picking patterns out of it and then deciding what words you want to go with those patterns or colors. So, I love how these ones turned out. I'm just going to use some of the watercolor ones because I'm feeling watercolory this evening. So, I'm going to, and I'm just going to go through them and see what comes to me. And you can use stamps. I've used letter stamps on some of mine. I'll grab one and show you what I mean. I think I showed them to you in the beginning. In the first video. As I wander away while talking to you. It's only mildly rude. So, and they are hard to put if I need them. Buried back in here. There they are. I got these at a local discount store many moons ago, and I've used them quite happily. 2 different sizes. So I've got the big honkin' ones and then the little bitties, both of which I've used on many cards. For example, Be Brave. And you can use paintbrushes. You can see on this one, I went and I used a paintbrush to isolate a little triangle. For some reason, I felt like doing that. I've used marker here, the colored pens, like the ones I used for the other drawing, because these have 2 ends. They got like a fine end and a big end. I've used some of those to paint inside. I've used some acrylic paint on there. So you can get really creative with these and really get into it. Or you could be super simple. Sometimes I like my handwriting, sometimes I don't, so that's why sometimes I've stamped. But if you really like your handwriting, go ahead and write them. If you don't have stamps, but you'd like to have stamps, you can actually, depending on how long you're in self-isolation, you can actually carve some stamps out of just rubber erasers. I can do a separate video on that. If anyone's interested in seeing that happen, I can actually do that and show you how to do that. But it's very easy to do, as long as you don't cut your fingers off. Yeah, so you can just go ahead and use whatever you have. Like I said, I used acrylics and the other pens. I think I used an orange one for that. And then one down here. And it's literally like you can see, this was the Inktense that was underneath for my first layer. And then I found an interesting shape that I outlined. And then I just added some color to it. So I will show you. This one to me feels like a breathe card. Just from the look of it, the way it looks very watery and, you know. And you can look at each one and just see what it feels like. And then just play with that. And I'll show you a few different ways of doing it. This one's like the stamped variety with some line work. And then I'll also show you how to do with just handwriting and then simple shapes. And then I want this one. What is this one? That's the one. That's the one I wanted. Or do I want the 3? I think I want the 3. If I can find it. I have a great many pens. I used to, back before I started taking antidepressants, do a lot of graphic design artwork. So I did a lot of inking, but I shake too bad now, so that doesn't work for me anymore. So I do my coloring pages, and then I send them off to my wonderful niece, and she does them up so they're ready for publishing for me, which is very kind of her. I'm going to be giving her credit in my coloring book. And for this one, I think I'll just do to start with. This is just a Sharpie marker, it's nothing fancy. It just says breathe. And then I can see here very interesting. I'm very, very much into botanical shapes and leaves and things. So you'll often see a lot of leaves in my paintings and a lot of my work. Nature inspires me quite a bit. So it's something that you will notice. And I just really liked the side of it, how it kind of splooshes out. So I left it. I didn't put the line all the way around it because I like how it leaves it open, gives it more breathing space. Ha ha. And you really can just go through the whole deck of cards for each of the things. Because by now I imagine you might have come up with quite a few different words that you want to use, which is wonderful. So it's just a matter of going through now and finding. There may be shapes in some of the cards, there may not. It really just depends. Some of them have them, some of them don't. Some of them you might see them afterwards. I'm just used to recognizing the patterns and this sort of thing, so my brain does it on its own. And then I feel like, and like I said, you can mix acrylics, you can go in with different colors of acrylic and mix it with this. You can do different ink colors and pen. I might darken. I feel like I want to darken this one. And like I said, it's super simple materials. It's nothing at all that is very, very expensive or very fancy. You don't have to go out and get any new anything. And it's okay if some of them run out and do different patterns than what you may have expected. That's part of the fun. It's still a little bit of intuitive painting doing these, so you're still going to get a little bit of the experience of having to relinquish that perfection. So I'll show you a few. And I'm literally just letting my pen do whatever it wants to do. I'm looking at the whole thing and just kind of going, that looks neat. That looks neat. And I feel like that's all that one wants, really. Except for maybe some no, I'm feeling this turquoise. That's what I'm feeling, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just keeping it very simple. Like I said, you can get super complicated or not. And that's my first card. And I'll show you just a different idea of what you can also do. This one to me feels like an expand card because of the way it just kind of goes out. So I think, and you can do them uppercase, lowercase, whatever. It's not, oh, and I just did exactly, I wanted to show you that actually. If you do happen to write, because I'm writing right on it, I'm not even really paying attention. If you do happen to make a mistake, that's why you have made so many cards. You can take another one of the same color. Just remember to take one from another deck to put it in. One of the things you can do is set aside one of your decks of cards as being your spares, so that if you make a mistake, you know you have backups. So you don't have to feel pressured that you have to make them perfect every time, because it's not going to happen. Puppy's just snoring away down there. And I love this. I don't know what's going on up here, but this is really cool. It almost looks like a field in the background of trees or something, which I kind of like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along those little trees or whatever they are, and I'm just going to make an interesting little line, including those patterns. Because it almost looks like an interesting horizon to me. So I'm going to work with that. And that's why I say when you're putting on your colors on your original big sheets of paper, don't get too worried about making patterns or anything, because you'll find patterns later. They'll just kind of happen. And you can do, because to me, expand, I apologize for having my hand in the way, is like a little arrow thingy happening. These will never be straight. No matter how hard you try, forget it, it's not going to happen. And there's my second card. And like I said, you can get more intricate with them, less intricate. You can get super simple. It can just be a word and the color. You can get into all sorts of patterns. You can stamp different things. A lot of the ones that I use for stamps in my big paintings, I will often use as stamps for these things as well, like the brush caps and the bottle caps and things, because they make nice circles and things, and they'll be quite pretty. Ooh. And it's nice to use different sizes of markers as well, just because it gives you a variety of line sizes, which keeps it interesting. And you can see I haven't made a list. I sometimes will, I sometimes don't. This time I haven't, because I just kind of want it to come to me as it comes. This to me looks like one of those underwater kelp forests. So I'm going to do something with the designs. And Dive In came to me just as I was sitting here with it. So I imagine that's something to do with diving in, like we do with a lot of our different exercises. It feels very much like it's under the surface of the water. And I love that. And we are, right now, we are diving in. We're going inside and finding interesting messages in our own mind. Again, you can be using your list, you might not. It all depends. I do feel like I need a ruler. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. Sometimes I can. Today I don't feel like I can. I'm gonna borrow the edge of another one. It's cheating, but it works. And I just wanted it to be straight-ish so that I could do this on the other side, which is sort of like water ripples. And then I'll get more complicated. I usually will go in a couple of times with each card. I'll start out picking out the most obvious designs and then whatever I think it feels like it says. But like I said, if you have a list already done, go ahead and just do your cards with your list. But I'll usually go in a couple of times. I'll start out with my words and then the first patterns that pop out at me. And then after that, I will go through all the, again, the ones that I've already done and bring out more patterns. See what else comes. And you can do them horizontally. You can do them vertically. This one feels like a vertical to me. So you can have both in a deck. So I've done 4 horizontal. I think I'll do 4 vertical as well. But that's just for balance sake. You don't have to. They could all be horizontal. They could all be vertical. It really doesn't matter. Whatever excites you. This one felt like be gentle. I don't know if it means be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, or just be gentle in general. But it just felt that way, so that's what it is. And I like whatever's happening up here, so I'm going to follow it a little bit. And then I love how this corner is kind of patchy and interesting, so I'm going to leave it and just follow these little trees over here. Or whatever they are, I have no idea. Wherever the paint spread out a little bit. And like I said, it can absolutely be different every single time. I feel like that one is good. And this one feels like, this one kind of feels like Explorer to me. It looks like a cliff, almost like if you're walking along and then it goes down. I know I'm just being silly, but that's what it looks like to me. So this one for me is going to be Explorer. And these are just my words. You can use whatever words you want. These are just words that are coming to me as I'm doing this. I tend to do them quite intuitively. But for most people, when they first start out doing them, it's best to do them in a journal first, like I asked you to write down before. And there's a couple different ways to do them. I'll show you with another set, a different way of doing them. Which is basically, well, I can show you this one too. It's basically to take, thoughts like we were talking about earlier, where if I'm thinking something negative about myself frequently, like I'm too old, or I don't have enough knowledge, or those things that we say to ourselves that kind of nibble at our confidence. To write those down and then to turn them into something different on the other side of the page. So for example, if you have, I'm too old, you can say, I have vast experience. And then you can choose a word from that, like say experience, and have that on one of your cards. So that's also something that you can think about doing if you want to change, thought patterns. It's a really good thing to use these affirmation cards for yourself, is to come up with different phrases and things that you might say to yourself to, we all have that little nagging little monkey voice that gets chattering at us every now and then. And sometimes it's best just to, tell them to shut up. But it actually works better long term if instead of telling him to shut up, you actually go ahead and retrain him. Because he very seldom reacts well to just being told to shut up. You kind of have to give him something else to think about. So it's sometimes better to take those thoughts, those nasty little things that we say to ourselves, and turn them into something positive. And then each time you look at your affirmation cards, you can think to yourself, this is what is true. The other thing is just something you've said to yourself. And you can literally just retrain your thought patterns. But I digress. I was doing this. And like I said, not all of them. I have this one as a horizontal again. I was intending to do a vertical, but it felt more horizontal, so I just went with it. And I'm okay with that. And I really do think I'm going to do something with this whole cliff thing here, which is really cool looking. I'm just going to follow it, drawing not all of the lines, but some of them, because I like it. And this is just a pattern that the paint itself made. And it reminded me of like a kind of a Grand Canyon sort of cliff thing happening. Don't know if you can see it. There we go. And then what I'll do is, again, I'll go back and I'll add leaves and patterns and different things to strengthen that feeling. Like for the Be Brave, I think that's part of why the pyramid came in, is because it's strong. It's lasted for a long time. I've got these in there for motion, because being brave, you have to move forward. Things like that. You can get quite symbolic with it if you want to, going into it. So I'll do a couple more, and then I want you guys to go and do yours. As much as you, like, you can do the whole thing all the way to start to finish if you want. I will come back and I will show you my finished cards. And when I show you my finished cards, I'll also show you how to make your envelope to hold them in. So I shall return soon. I really am here. It's just the angle that I have to have my camera at to be able to see what I'm doing. See you soon.